Hello everyone, thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Max, and today I'm going to be doing my review for Hawkeye Episode 3. Now, I'm going to start this off by saying this is one of my favorite episodes of Marvel TV ever. I think, the Real Rejects said the same thing or something, but I'm not copying them. This is a legitimate thought I had while watching this episode. I think this is what every Disney Plus show should strive for in the future. I think this episode should be the blueprint for how every Marvel show should work. And there was nothing wrong with it. Everything was perfect. The only downside, and I'll get into it in a little bit, was Echo's backstory, but it had no effect on how much I loved this episode. I think it was perfect. So getting into the review, like I just said, Echo's backstory, I really like what they did because it established a relationship, a struggle with the character, and made us feel for her, kind of how they made us feel for Kate Bishop in the first episode. And I think that parallel between the two characters is really great because it gives us something to relate to both of them in the way that they lost someone they were close to. There's other things going on in their life that might not be perfect or what they want, but I think they did that really well, and it was a good introduction to the character without giving too much away. The only criticism I have from it is how it was done or edited. I don't know. I feel like it could have gone a little quicker, and it felt like it was dragging on a little bit too long. But like I said, it had no effect on how much I love this episode. As soon as that ended, which it did have, again, a lot of valuable information, I just feel like it went on a tiny bit too long. But I think it was a great setup for the characters, so I can't knock it too much. Now, getting into this episode, the car sequence, best part of the episode, I absolutely loved the car chase sequence. Yes, we saw some of it on Disney Plus Day, and I loved it then, but in the context of how they, got to the point where they had to steal the car and have the chase sequence, as well as seeing Kate's archery skills and the trick arrows, I thought were incredible. The Pym particle arrow interacting with Kate's arrow, I think, showed off the amazing archery skills of both Clint and Kate. And the huge arrow falling from the sky on the bridge was incredible. And I think that's really the best way to cross over these MCU elements into these shows. Make it something useful, not just like an end credit scene or a little nod here and there. I think doing something like that where it actually is a part of the story is great. And I could not have asked for anything more with that chase sequence. I think that was a great way to kind of end it. And it was a nice little nod to the world of Ant-Man. But yeah, the chase sequence, overall, favorite part of the episode, one of my favorite parts of Marvel Disney Plus TV of all time. Really like what they did. I think it reminded me a ton of season 4 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with like the Ghost Rider chases and other sequences we'd seen in other seasons with Lola and stuff like that. So I absolutely loved that. And kind of playing off of that, the next thing I loved was Clint and Kate's dynamic. This is one of my favorite team-ups in the MCU already. I think they go so well together because they don't really know each other, but they kind of know each other really well because they are similar in their skill set. There's a kind of father-daughter bond between them. There are things that are keeping them together that are kind of beyond their control with the tracksuit mafia, Echo, and the Ronin suit, things like that. So I think that's a really great tie between them. And I just love the dynamic these two have. When Kate was helping Clint talk to his son on the phone and writing down the notes, I really felt a connection between them. The emotion of those two actors in that scene was great because you could see the sadness that both of them were feeling, but also the gratefulness that Hawkeye had for Kate when she helped him. I think the whole way they're playing with Clint being deaf was fantastic, and how they're communicating. And I just love everything about this relationship. I cannot wait for the other episodes of this show. And I think this is already gearing up to be my favorite Disney Plus MCU show without a doubt. Like, it's just behind WandaVision at this point. And I think by the time the show finishes, it will be at the #1 spot. So with that being said, the next thing I really liked about this episode was the kind of nods that they're giving to the future. Now, obviously, if you've been hearing any news about this show, you have heard that the big rumor is that Kingpin is coming at some point in time. Now, this is a huge fan for anybody who's watched Daredevil because it is rumored to be the same actor. It is a huge thing for characters like Spider-Man, who go up against Kingpin a lot in the comics. And I think it's just a big win for all of us Marvel TV fans because, even if you haven't watched Daredevil, I've barely watched any of it, but I am working my way through the show right now. Even if you haven't watched it, this is a huge win because it will be a character finally returning and crossing over from the Marvel TV side, and it will settle a lot of debate with the canon status of these shows, especially after that Marvel Studios book or whatever was taken out of context a few months ago. So I think this will be a big win for everybody if Kingpin does show up. Everything is pointing to him showing up. And I think just seeing the character in general will be really cool because some scoopers out there have said that he is going to be the bigger version of the character. How they're going to do that, I'm not necessarily sure. If he's going to be like what we saw in the Spider-Verse, where he is a legitimately huge person, or if he will just be more muscular than we saw in Daredevil, or whatever. But I'm really excited to see how they continue this character's story, even though I haven't seen all of it, and just what I can look forward to while watching Daredevil with the character himself. So the final thing I liked about this episode was Lucky the Pizza Dog. He doesn't have the name yet, but I believe he's just being called Pizza Dog right now, and that's what he responds to, which I think is really funny. And Lucky will probably come into play later on, or they could just keep calling him Pizza Dog, but regardless, I think he's great because he is, again, kind of a bonding thing for Kate and Clint, and I think he's going to have a really comedic part in a future episode. I don't know why, it's just a gut feeling I have that there's going to be a lot of comedic relief with Lucky the Pizza Dog, and I can't wait to see what that is. One other thing I really liked in this episode was how it ended, seeing that Kate's future stepdad does have a darker side to him and will have an interaction with Clint and possibly Kate. I think is a great setup for episode 4, and I'm really interested to see how that story continues and if it will tie into the Tracksuit Mafia, possibly Kingpin, or whatever else could come up in this series. So yeah, overall, I loved this episode so much. One of my favorite moments of Marvel TV, period. I really like what they're doing with all the character development here. Kate and Clint are one of my top favorite MCU teams. Everything they're doing is fantastic. Hayley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop. Again, I don't know a whole lot about the comic character, and this is really my first exposure to her, but I can say that this interpretation, if it is faithful to the comics, as I've heard it is, makes me want to go read those comics because I love this character so much. So that's about all I have for now. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you liked it, please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.